Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. There are jingle bells in the air. It is that time of the year, and we're going to give you our year-end awards this week. So, Mr. Rick from the Great White North, it's been a heck of a year.
It has been. It's been fun.
Yes.
It's been fun. It's been I don't know, when I was looking back at the year stuff, because we have categories that we've
Yes.
played. So I was looking at AEW had a lot of like huge events and huge moments, but I don't know. To me, it seemed like there were parts of it that were a little uneven. Whereas there's like, I didn't remember that happening. And then like when you think
Yes.
about it, it did happen. But it's, I don't know, maybe it's because they had more pay-per-views or like now Collisions are out. Like they just have more stuff. It's easier to forget about it. I don't know.
That's a good point. We when we first started this, we talked about like we would always talk about how special the pay-per-views were because there would be such a, I mean, you basically had spring, summer, winter, fall pay-per-views, and there was such a, I mean, you could get that feeling when you were about a month away. You know, it was special. So yeah, like this year that with there being, I almost said weekly, excuse me, monthly pay-per-views.
Oh, they're coming. Weekly. Don't worry.
That'll be like TNA.
Yeah.
97 or 98. Anyways, it would be I can see that. And the other point that I want to make on to piggyback off of yours, like there were things that I looked up that I could have swore happened like a year and a half ago. And I was like, that was like 6 months ago.
Yeah. It's weird. Some things seem like they happened a really, really long time ago, and they happened recently. And then the opposite's also true. Like there's things that I thought were like, oh yeah, that happened recently, but no, that was January. Like
Yes.
it's weird.
Yes,
Time is odd.
it is.
And that's not to say any of the pay-per-views, like pay-per-views have all been great this year.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying they haven't. It just maybe because there's more going on, it's easier to forget about stuff.
Yeah, geez, when we first started this, there was Dynamite, and I mean, I would try to watch the YouTube shows at first, and then I got really into them. But like, I mean, we went from 2 hours to now we're over 4 plus a pay-per-view, and if you watch Rampage, 5, geez, a week. So yeah, we got a lot of
and technically
content.
ROH. We're not counting ROH for this, or at least I didn't count ROH for any of this, but
did I
I
put
only counted
anything?
AEW. I don't know what you did.
I actually have one Ring of Honor thing.
All right.
And but everything else is just AEW stuff.
Makes sense.
So we'll start then. We'll get right into it. But we're just this is in no specific order. These were just how they came. We came about the categories, so this is the order that we're doing them in. Best female wrestler. I mean, I had to give it to Toni Storm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's between. I have honorable mention Jamie Hayter because she did have her moment, and when she comes back, it's going to be amazing. But
yeah, she had a great like first half of the year until she got hurt.
Yeah, yes,
that was really good.
But I mean, what Toni has become, I mean, it's amazing. Timeless Toni Storm is freaking amazing.
She was having a great year before all this, like just like an in-ring year, but like the character is incredible. I love everything about it. It's great.
Yes, everything about it is great. I mean, the overreactions, the out of touch comments and analogies are so great.
She gets into it more and more, like every week. Yeah, too. You could tell like she's like building on this character. Like when she did commentary on Dynamite this week, that was outstanding. When they would just cut to her and it'd be in black and white, she'd just like making awkward poses.
And the part that
her not knowing who Ruby Soho was because her hair is different, and Tony Schiavone being like, you know, sometimes people look different, right? Toni Storm. She's like, no, never.
What did she call him? Tony
Schiavone, I think.
Tony Schiavone, yes.
Tony Schiavone. Yeah, it was great.
It was so good. I mean, who do you have before we?
I had Toni Storm.
Okay.
And my honorable mentions are Sheeta and Julia Hart, who both had great years, but
yeah.
Not Toni Storm level.
not Tony Storm. I mean, that was, I don't want to say like, I'd also say like surprise of the year. Like, I mean, we knew that the talent was there, but I would have never expected this to take off. I mean, this is, it's like major storyline.
It's great.
It's just so good,
to the point where she comes out. I just want to see what when she was doing commentary, it was great. But the only problem with it is that it takes away. All I want to do is pay attention to Toni Storm. Like I don't care about it was Ruby Soho and Riho, both great wrestlers. But it was a great match. I just wanted to see Toni Storm and hear what she had to say. Like she's great.
The other thing that kept making me laugh is whenever I don't know if she was doing it on purpose, but like they would cut away from the black and white camera and go to like the in-ring cam, but she would still be posing. Like you'd see it in the background. And it happened like 3 times, and every single time I laughed like just as hard. It was so good.
And she involves RJ City and stuff. She it's great. Everything about this, I love it. It's what's wonderful. It sounds so dumb.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. I think it's wonderful.
It is so good. Well,
she kind of overshone, if that's a word. Everybody, overshadowed everybody, I guess. Jamie Hayter had a great year. Sheeta had a great year. Lots of great wrestlers, but Toni Storm kind of overshadowed all of them.
I mean, I hate to say it, but she kind of disbanded her own group because she's more popular than them now.
Right. Yeah.
Not on purpose disbanded them, but they're kind of forgot. I forgot that they exist.
It's true. Even till yesterday when they were like, oh, right. I was like, oh yeah, she was in the Outcast. I completely forgot about that.
Right. Unreal. Yeah. Well, we're going to move on to best male wrestler. I'll let you go first this time.
All right. This was a tougher one.
Yes.
Because Toni Storm was a pretty obvious. Not that the rest of the women's division is bad. She's there. They're not. But just she was so huge that it was easy to pick her. I had a tougher one with this. I decided to go with Bryan Danielson just because every match he's been in was good. Every single one.
Yes.
All year. So I had other options, but I went with Bryan Danielson.
And I'm glad I changed mine because I did have Danielson and to play devil's advocate, I changed mine. Danielson's a great pick. I mean, there's nothing you could say other than it sucks that he got hurt because that we lost a couple matches in there for those for those 8 weeks that he was off TV. But I mean,
every single thing he did was good. His match with MJF, his stuff with against the Elite, his stuff with Ricky Starks. The stuff he's doing now with the Continental Class, every single thing was good.
Yeah,
you're right. The only thing that was too bad is he didn't get to do more.
Right.
Other than that, it was excellent.
Yeah, his most people would kill for his C-level game.
Right. Yeah.
For him, to quote unquote a bad Danielson match, we always say, I'm sure he says there are ones, but there's not. Let's be honest.
Right.
A normal pro wrestler would be man, if I could have just one match in my career that he has 4 times a month on TNT,
Yeah, you could tell him with no preparation and nothing, and you could find a wrestler who he's never met or seen before,
right?
And been here, you have 10 minutes. It would be a good match.
Yeah,
it would be. I fully believe that it would be. I don't understand how, and it's not even he's just a good in-ring wrestler. His character is great. His promos are great. His everything about him is just good.
And everything that he does, our big thing we've always talked about on here, suspension of disbelief. He makes it look like pro wrestling / jujitsu. Everything has meaning. He'll do something 5 minutes in that in 10 minutes he'll go back to. It's like a real MMA fight, and it's different, but it's awesome.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, great year. Who did you?
Yeah, I had Swerve.
But he's an honorable mention for me. I agree with you.
And just everything, everything that he's done here since coming in has been like a slow burn, but everything was positive. Like coming in, I knew very little about him. I like knew what Hit Row was, but like I didn't see. I mean, I saw clips of them, but I wasn't.
Like I knew he existed.
Right.
Basically,
there
that
you
was
go.
it. Yeah.
And then so like when he came in, like I had zero expectation because I didn't know anything about him. I'm not just because he was there. I'm not gonna hate on him, you know.
I was honestly when he first came in and they introduced him. I forget at what pay-per-view, but they introduced him and he came out and did like a 2-minute little thing. I even thought at the time, why are they giving him this platform?
Yes,
because I thought he was if he was going to debut, he'd just show up in a match. Like
exactly.
I not in retrospect that sounds offensive, but at the time I was just like, why is he getting 5 minutes on the show? He's not like Christian or anyone else who debuted in WWE. He's just, but yeah, he's what I noticed it a lot was on this week's Dynamite, him and Mox in the main event. He is Mox level now. He's main event. Like he's a match with Swerve and any of the main event guys is now like a big fight match. Yes. Whereas like a year ago, that wasn't true.
That's a great point. And again, like I've loved the Continental Classic. The Continental Classic is gonna make a lot of people throughout the years. Like, like this first year we have a lot of stars in it, but maybe the first couple, but there's going to be a year when there's going to be like a lot of
like upper mid-card guys or mid-card guys in it.
Yeah. And it's going to be the bridge between the TNT title and the world title. Like we always talk about that gray area. Like I would have loved to seen Wardlow in this tournament.
Yeah.
So I love
with Swerve. Like whatever I saw someone say, whatever it is.
Yes, he has it. Like
whatever
twice
it is,
he has it.
He has it. Like I was thinking this when he was doing stuff last week or this week. Out of all the people who came from WWE in the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years to AEW, I'm I think I'm surprised. I'm surprised that he's the one who's the biggest success so far out of the guys who are like established main eventers already, like Danielson or Mox, right. But like him opposed to like Keith Lee or Malachi Black or even like Samoa Joe, like they're all good, but Swerve has been the star out of all those guys who came over, and I wouldn't have predicted that when they all showed up 2 years ago.
Agreed. And I think Swerve is, and again, I this is just stupid prediction. I think Swerve is a lifer. WWE left a little bit too much of a bad taste for him, and then when they tried to steal him, I think that left an even more of a bad taste for him. And
I just think like this has been where he got to be
him,
a star. He got to be him. Yeah. He got to be whatever it is that he does. It's odd because you can't even put a finger on it, what it is that he's doing that's just so successful, but it is.
It's almost
where he got to do that. Like that's where like there was always when WWE, and not to say WWE doesn't have successful wrestlers, they do obviously. But there were times when like in Monday Night War era when like Jericho came over from WCW to WWE and then WWF at the time, and you're like, oh yeah, he gets to be him now. He gets to do whatever. He didn't get to do that in the other company, and now he gets that. Like this is where he's going to build himself as Swerve Strickland, the main event level top wrestler.
That's And you said something that it's kind of ironic that WWE has essentially turned into late 90s WCW, and AEW is kind of like late 90s WWF.
Yeah, it's odd because WWF is what at the time was like the underdog, right?
Well, the underdog. Small. They weren't spending big money on contracts, like
But yeah, Swerve definitely. I had him as an honorable mention. I had 2 other honorable mentions. I don't know if you had any.
Go ahead.
Christian, because
of course,
he was. Christian, he's another one who's like. I would have. I loved Christian his whole career, but I would have never predicted he'd be as big as he is now. He's doing a great job.
He's so good.
And my other one was, I know he was already pretty established, but Orange Cassidy I think had a great year.
Again, everybody you mentioned has nothing they have done this year has been, I wouldn't even, like, I'd say B tier at the lowest. You know?
I agree.
Like that everybody mentioned there.
They're just the guys who like Tony Storm. Every time when they're on, you pay attention to them.
Yes.
Like when Tony Storm's on, when Danielson's on, when Christian's on, Orange Cassidy, Swerve, like they're the ones who you pay attention to. If they tell you, you're told they're going to have a segment, you want to see that segment or you want to see that match.
Yeah. I'm like getting excited now. Sorry.
And what I actually just realized right now is these are none of the people outside of maybe Danielson. These are none of the people who we would have put on our, I don't know who we picked last year. But these are none of the people who we would have picked last year or the year before. We would have picked, Mox or MJF or CM Punk.
Hangman,
Hangman, Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
And not that any of them have had bad years. It's just these other people have had better years.
Yeah. And people are, when I say learning their place, that sounds ignorant. And I don't mean it in that way. Like, people are learning their place, like within AEW, like doesn't mean, like, look at Sky Blue. Like, she started on the YouTube shows on Dark and Elevation. Now, she's, on TV every week and, main evented, Rampage and stuff. So people are learning that you're never stuck in AEW. Like, there are opportunities that you have to impress people on, but you are given opportunities.
Right. AEW has what WWE doesn't have. And this is even a knock. It's just different.
Yeah.
The people in AEW, everyone's given an opportunity, but you have to take it. And not everyone can do that. Not everyone can write their own storylines, write their own promos, write their own characters. Some people are just more comfortable in an era where, I'm good at wrestling, I'm good at speaking, but I need someone to write my stuff for me. And I can see why there's some wrestlers who don't like it in AEW, because I think they're kind of left to their own devices a little bit. Like, you can go out and you can have a great match, or you can go out and have a great character. We're going to let you do basically whatever you want, but you have to do it.
Right. And
they don't hand you a thing and say, this is your character. And
this is you. Yeah. It's, well, I mean, we've said it a million times before too. AEW is basically a multi-million-dollar indie federation, and saying that in the aspect of, on the indies, you're an independent contractor. Like, yeah, you can be booked on 25 shows a week if you want to be. Like, AEW's giving you that opportunity. Like, you might not get used every week, but if you show up every week, and that'll be noticed. Anyway, moving right along, we have the best feud of the year, and I will let you start.
This is a tough one because I couldn't think of any big feud. Like, there were big feuds obviously, but I couldn't think of, I think last year, was it last year? No, maybe the year before. One year it was obvious that it was the CM Punk MJF feud. Like, that was guaranteed. There was no one blood feud that kind of filled that much time. What I picked was, it's kind of a cop-out, is the MJF versus the Devil feud. It's not even really a feud. It's more of a storyline.
But it's interesting.
But that's what I picked, because that was interesting. That's still interesting, and it keeps your attention, and it's involved. I like that it involves so many people. It involved the Acclaimed. It involves Adam Cole and Samoa Joe and the Kingdom and Roderick Strong and now Hangman Page, and it's just involving so many people that I think it's just a great overarching story to have. I know it's not really, seems like kind of a cop out because it's not really a feud because there's no other side at this point.
Right.
But I think that's what I picked.
That's a great pick. It is. I actually have two. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, it is the most interesting thing because it is so weaved throughout the whole show. You never know if what you're about to see or have just seen is going to come back in 2 weeks. Right. And you're like, oh my God. It's like an actual show.
It is. It's like a TV show more than like a wrestling show. The only downside is, we've talked about this before, I think the reveal of the Devil can only be disappointing. Not because the storyline's bad, just because they've hyped it up so much. If it's we've said this before, if it's the person who makes sense, someone like Adam Cole,
right,
or MJF himself, it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, but I kind of wanted a surprise. And then if it's a weird surprise, you're like, oh, that guy, really? So like, it does kind of, I don't know if there's going to be a satisfying ending to it.
Well, I was thinking just last night is well, we're doing this on Thursday, so last night was Dynamite. I was thinking during Dynamite last night, like, I'm gonna go in with an open mind. Like, I always sit here and worry, like, oh, what if it's this? What if it's that? Like, I don't want to ruin it for myself before it's even
that's
like
true.
A bad choice.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm just gonna whoever it is, I'm gonna be okay with it at first, at least.
Yeah. I'll give it a shot because the storyline's been good.
Oh yeah, and for my feud, I have two actually. So my first one is the real one. I had Eddie and Claudio.
All right.
I was a fan of whenever Ring of Honor bled over into AEW. I know a lot of people weren't, but that was just fun, and the fact that they as in AEW are acknowledging history that doesn't happen in WWE. So
it's a really low bar to hit, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah, like acknowledging things that really happened to these people.
I like how they did like that like half hour, I think it was half an hour of like YouTube video of just the feud. That was pretty good. That was good stuff.
And yeah, that's what I liked about it. Like we had finality. They gave you the backstory. If you weren't watching or a fan then, they like let everybody know that this is how it went down, and just fun.
And it had a real ending, which a lot of AEW feuds don't really have. I mean, yes, Eddie and Claudio still don't like each other. Like they had a match in the C2 and they still don't like each other. But it did have an ending. Eddie got to like go over on a big event and win the title. Whereas a lot of AEW feuds, like one of the other ones I had as honorable mention was the BCC and the Elite. And a lot of AEW feuds kind of just peter out. They have a bunch of matches and then they kind of just fall away. But like, yeah, that one had an actual ending to it, which I liked.
Yes. What do you have any honorable mentions?
I had BCC in the Elite, and I had it's been short. It hasn't been too long. But I had Christian against Adam Copeland, just because that.
Yeah, I mean that's my other real honorable mention, because I mean that's been fantasy booked 800 trillion times by everybody our age.
Yeah, and obviously them. I could see that they were probably driving, somewhere 20 years ago planning this out, and like now they get to do it. Yeah.
And when all said and done, when they retire, and if it's in AEW, if it's in WWE, wherever it was, I hope Christian and Edge sit down, Copeland sit down. Excuse me. And they're like the whole idea of Christian being a dad. Like I hope this is like 30 years in the making. Like just this character that's like, dude, like what could be so dumb, but you just like take it over. Like, what if I'm everybody's dad? And they're just like, in my head, that's how I want it to work.
I really wonder, not to go off track too much.
Yeah,
but I really wonder if this was planned or if he just made fun of Jungle Boy's dad because it was Luke Perry, and it got a reaction, and then he's like, I'm gonna keep doing it, or if it was a plan. I really wonder. I have no idea, and I don't know if we'll ever know. But I really wonder.
That's a great point. It's so good though.
Did you see that interview he did with, I think, Sports Illustrated, or it was TSN in Canada? I think it might have been TSN in Canada. Before the Montreal show, where he's just like, I lost 7 years of my wrestling career, so I have to make up for it now.
Oh wow!
So I'm just gonna do all the stuff I wanted to do for 7 years, and like I'm just gonna. I should have been at this level 7 years ago, so that's why he's pushing himself to get there now. So it was pretty good.
That's awesome. This one's gonna rile you up a little bit. This is my funny one. Best feud: Rick versus Ticketmaster. It is my favorite thing.
I'm continuously outraged at Ticketmaster.
I know, it's the greatest thing ever. And it was funny because you were ironically talking about 20 minutes before we started this.
I forgot what event it was. I think it might have been. I was looking at before Dynamite went for sale in Toronto. They went on sale in Ottawa, I think. And I was just looking just to see like what general prices are. there was tickets that were $25 and the service charge was $18. I'm like, you can't charge almost as much in service charges as the ticket. That's insane. Like, come on. Yeah, it drives me nuts. I hate them.
As everybody should, but I just I'm entertained by it. So
I thought you were going to say Rick versus Chris Jericho being on television, because that's another one.
That is another one. Speaking last night, that was bad. Anyway.
Oh, that was bad. Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Yes. Moving right along. It is your turn I have best match female.
This was a tough one. I have a little mini rant here about women's booking, because the women's division is all good. Like, we've talked about it millions and millions. I think we've said this 50 times now. They're all great wrestlers. But, like, thinking of even best match, I was having trouble coming up with a match. And I was like, I know they're all good wrestlers. So then I went and I'm like, I'm going to look back at all the pay-per-views they had this year. Each one had like one match. It's stupid at this point.
Yeah, that's
like it's dumb. And half the time it was like the TBS title was on, so then the world title wasn't on. Like, why? Why can't you have two? It's really dumb at this point. Like, I don't understand what's going on, or if it's got to be a network decision, because ROH doesn't do it, and when they had the YouTube shows, they didn't do it. So it must be a network, but it's stupid at this point.
Very dumb.
The fact that they only have one women's match with a roster that's all very talented is dumb, and someone needs to fix it, because it's going to cost. Like, we've talked about Mercedes Moné coming before. Like, there's a chance that she does not come to AEW, and if she doesn't come to AEW, guaranteed this is why, because she's going to think, oh, what? I don't want to be on TV once for 10 minutes and then not on again for weeks on end because they only have one women's match. Like, why shouldn't put up with that? No one should. None of them should. Right? Like,
agreed.
They all deserve better than this. And look what happens when you give any women not anyone, obviously, like, people have different levels of talent, but when you give most of the women on the roster screen time, you get like Toni Storm, you get Sheeta, who's had done great stuff. You get Sky Blue or Julia Hart, who've all done great stuff because they gave them time to be on TV. Like, if you had given 10 other people that much time, how many big stars would you have right now? It was hard to do. It's hard to come up with a match, and I think this might be recency bias because it just happened pretty recently. But my match of the year for women is the triple threat match from Full Gear for the TBS title: Julia Hart, Chris Statlander, Sky Blue. Which is I love that match. That was really, really good.
That was also mine. That was also mine. It was just a great match all around.
Yeah, definitely great match.
It was fun. It told a story. It had they just gave everything that they had. Oh, it was so good. My honorable mention was any of Athena's Proving Ground matches in Ring of Honor. She literally won every one of them this year. Like, I think she's like won 31 of them. And they've all been good. So that's
the thing though. Like, Athena's doing, I don't really watch ROH, but Athena's doing great stuff in ROH. Yeah. But why is it just in ROH? Right? Like, why is none of this stuff happening on AEW? Like, it's silly.
It's very silly.
It's silly that you have to go to ROH to find a good women's match when, like, there's an AEW there's two titles.
Right.
Two women's titles in AEW. Why do you have to go to ROH to find the best women's match? You should be able to easily find one on the main roster. It's silly.
Yeah. And the thing about Ring of Honor, it's like, it's not just like the world title division. Like, there's like women's tag matches, women's trios matches. Like, it doesn't have to be a belt on the line. It could just be a regular, just one-on-one singles match. Like, it's weird how, and again, I understand that there's other TV, like, there's only so much time, but if you're going to have like you said, if you're going to have two titles, well, then you have three shows. You got to at least get, like, you can get one on each.
Yeah, I would totally understand if some weeks they only had one women's match.
Absolutely.
I get it. Like, you only have so much time. Like, you can't, like, Swerve or Mox or Christian isn't on every show. Like, I get it. You can't be on every show no matter who you are. But some weeks they should have, two or three. And it's bizarre that they don't.
It's so bad.
Because the roster's good. Like, there's talent.
Oh yeah,
there's definite talent there.
There's talent there, and there's such improvement there too, like all around everything.
Yeah, like the match I was talking about, that 3-way match, like Sky Blue and Julia Hart. Think of where they were a year ago versus where they are now, and how much better they are.
Yeah, and got to give Stat credit too, coming back from her second knee injury.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they definitely earned that for the best female match of the year.
Yeah.
Best male match of the year. I have Danielson Okada from Forbidden Door.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a good match. Did you know I was at that show?
I did not. I was not aware.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
I did. Couldn't find much merchandise.
I was just going to say, what was the merch like? That's also bad.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good match. It's unfortunate that I think it got cut short, but it was a great match.
Yeah. And I mean, again, just as you said at the beginning, it's Danielson. I mean, Danielson and Okada. I mean, how's that going to be bad? I mean, Danielson had a broken arm and it was amazing. Right. So think about that.
He somehow adapted the match to having a broken arm and it was still good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing it again in January, right?
Yes.
Wrestle Kingdom. That'll be fun.
Oh, Danielson gets to wrestle in Japan.
If you want to get up at like 3 a.m. to watch that, it's going to be good.
You did last year.
I did.
And it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah. They had
that was
Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay last year. So that was almost my match of the year. Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay from Forbidden Door. But actually my match that was an honorable mention. That was an incredible match. I love that match. The reason I didn't put it as my match of the year, nor did I put Danielson Okada, is because I was there, and shows always seem better when you're there, in my opinion. So
I agree.
I felt like, I haven't watched it on the TV version of it. So there's a part of me that thinks like, maybe I was just wrapped up in it because I was there.
Oh no, it was that good.
Yeah. Okay.
it is that good.
So my match of the year, also Bryan Danielson though.
Okay.
Bryan Danielson versus MJF in the Iron Man match. That was my match of the year.
That's
the greatest Iron Man match I've ever seen.
You think that was better than Brett and Sean?
Yeah, I didn't really like Brett and Sean. It was good, but it wasn't. It's not that wasn't even my favorite Iron Man match before this one.
Oh wow!
There was a Rock Triple H Iron Man match that was really good. That was I think it was the second one WWF did. I'm not a huge fan of Iron Man matches in general.
I think that's why Brett and Sean. I think that's why I like it so much, because I remember thinking, I am going to hate this because I can't sit down and watch somebody do this for an hour. And then next thing I know, it's over. And I'm like, that was an hour?
I'm generally not a fan of them because either they're stalling through the match, or, everything's going to happen in the last 10 minutes. So what's the point of the first, 50 minutes?
50. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, Danielson MJF was the best Iron Man match I've ever seen. And they told a story that went all the way through. I know people didn't like the fact that MJF got the oxygen tank and then hit him with it, but it made sense. I loved it. I thought it was a great match, and it kind of solidified MJF too. Like, he was already the champion, but it kind of solidified him as like, he could do a 60-minute match with Bryan Danielson. Yeah, he's good. I mean, anyone can do a good match with Bryan Danielson, but can he do a good 60-minute match with Bryan Danielson? And longer, because it actually went to overtime, right? So. Yeah, great match. I love that match. And then when was it? It was like Revolution. It was early in the year.
It was early in the year, yeah.
But that's still my favorite match.
So it was so good.
How good is Bryan Danielson though? Like, he's we just named like 3 or 4 different matches that he had that could have been match of the year because he's just so good.
Right.
Did you have any honorable mentions?
I did not, because to me nothing beat that. Nothing beat Danielson Okada for me.
Yeah. I had Omega versus Ospreay at Forbidden Door because that was. I know I was in the crowd, so like it's different when you're in the crowd versus when you're not. But that was like the most emotional match in terms of like a wrestling. That was incredible. If it didn't have that thing where they kicked out Don Callis, then he came back, that would have been my match of the year. That was a little. That was my only flaw to that match was that, but otherwise it was a great match. And my other match of the year, which surprised me, FTR versus Bullet Club Gold from Collision. That went like an hour. That was a good match.
That was very good. Oh, they've been out for so long. I forgot about them and Juice Robinson until right now.
Yeah, and that was surprising that match was so good because I wouldn't have expected it to be that good. Like, I mean, I like both those teams, but that match was it surpassed my expectations for them.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of good matches this year.
A lot of good matches. I was literally just going to say that. Okay, moving right along. We have next on my list, we have the Breakout Star Male. I think it's your turn. So.
Yeah, we've already talked about it. Swerve.
Swerve.
In my opinion, it has to be Swerve, just because take where he was a year ago versus where he is now, and he's improved so much. It's Swerve. We've already talked about it. So yeah.
See, I'm glad I went different. I went Ricky Starks.
All right. Yeah, he's had a good year.
Yeah. Ricky has had a good year. It's ended. I mean, he's on a tag run now. He's even brought it up in a few of his promos. It seemed like every time he was right there, somebody in his program would screw up. I mean, Punk was the last one. Yeah. So I'm glad, him and Big Bill are really working out well. And
I like them as a team too. They're good.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, of all teams, like, I would never think that, on paper, I would have never even put those two together. But
yeah, I agree.
It works, and they work, and they look good. Oh, they're just so yeah. Ricky Starks is my breakout male star.
That's a good one. That's a good one. On that note, we'll sprinkle our Jericho bashing throughout the show.
Okay. Yes.
That promo on Dynamite was awful. That segment they had, but like Ricky Starks was the only reasonable. Like, he made Jericho and Omega look so bad.
Yeah.
In comparison, like I don't know what was going on there, but Jericho looked horrible, and Ricky Starks was the only like salvageable part of that promo. So yeah, good for him. He managed to do something.
And honestly, I loved that Big Bill just held the mic. Like, it was almost like him and Enzo back in the day. Like, Enzo was like the hype man, and he was just big. But like, I liked that he didn't speak. I mean, he spoke a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Ricky basically, in the words of Danhausen, decimated them. And just, it was awesome.
And he's had a run of good promos. I mean, he had even from the beginning of the year. It was the end of last year, actually, when he had the little mini feud with MJF. That was when he kind of put himself on a different level, and he's carried it well since then. It's too bad he didn't get to have his like blow off with Punk. But otherwise, great stuff.
Great stuff. Breakout star female is our next category, and so I kind of think I know who you went with. So this is where I took a different route. I went with Athena. I talked about it earlier. Her run is, I mean, she's now officially over 365 days of not AEW, excuse me, Ring of Honor Women's Champion. She's won every Proving Ground match. Nobody has beaten her for a chance at the title. It's solid stuff, and she's had a hell of a year.
Do you think she comes to AEW at some point? I feel like she has to.
Yeah, I think, I don't know when she's going to lose the title. Like, I doubt Billy Starks wins the title tomorrow night. I mean, she's 18 years old, but you never know.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be like a situation like, kind of like what they do on NXT. Like, if there's a big match and like the champion loses, it's like him passing the torch to whoever's next, and then he goes to the main roster, she goes to the main roster. I think that's how they're going to do it. That's just my opinion. I could totally be wrong.
That would make perfect sense. That's another thing where, like, if she's doing such a good job in ROH, her coming up, quote unquote, coming up to AEW, it seems like that might be a bit of a negative for her, right? Because she's not going to, like, she gets a lot of time on ROH.
Right.
Is she going to get that in AEW? I think we've talked about this before, where like it's not so much the case now, but when NXT was like the super indie, when they had Adam Cole and Shinsuke Nakamura and Kevin O, everyone was when it was in NXT at the time. There was the feeling among some of the NXT guys that like, oh, we don't want to move up because we're not going to get this on the main roster. Is that the problem? Like, is Athena
That's a good point.
She'd want to stay in ROH because she gets time. Whereas if she came to AEW, would she get that time? Or would she get 5 minutes every couple weeks?
That's a great point. So, yeah, I mean, I could see her, like you said, I mean, her and Billy are main eventing the pay-per-view tomorrow night. So,
right.
It's, that's a good point. Maybe she doesn't want to.
She wouldn't get to main event a pay-per-view in AEW at this point.
And no, not now.
Not how things are going now, no.
So, well, who's your?
Mine is Julia Hart, just because she's.
I figured it was. Yeah, I figured it was you, Julia or Sky.
Sky is my honorable mention because
she's also mine.
Yeah, she's done a great job too. Like she was. Talk about Sky. She was like a, not. This is gonna sound mean, but she was like a no personality wrestler. Like a year ago, she was like someone who wrestled. That was her thing. That was her gimmick. She came out and she wrestled, and she was good at it, but that was it. And now she has like a personality and a gimmick, and you pay attention to her. And yeah, she's done great. Julia Hart has made she's kind of the head of the House of Black now, just because she's so like engaging and interesting. It's been really cool to see her come from like the nobody cheerleader to who she is today.
And like we were talking about opportunities, doing that all on her own, like going to actually going to Malachi and asking, hey, would you mind, can we do this? And he was like, let's go. And like, I mean, give her credit, that took some guts. I mean, to walk up to Malachi Black and say, hey, you probably have no idea who I am. We should work together.
Yeah, and I mean, she had a thing, right? She had like a team that she was in. Like, it's not like she was doing nothing. She had something. So like, it's hard to like I have something, and I'm gonna give that thing up for something that could fail miserably, like no one knows, right? So yeah, that took, and like Tony Storm or like some of the MJF stuff, or like even Christian, like with the dad stuff. The gimmick itself is inherently kind of silly. Like, why is she spitting poison mist in people's faces? That's like making some of them evil. But she makes
only
it work.
Some, right?
Like she makes it work. So it's pretty cool.
The Twitter feud between Julia and Jake Hager over their hats, was that like around this time last year?
Yeah,
it was so fun.
And the fact that she sings her theme, like she sings along with her theme song. I love it. I don't know why, but I think it's great.
Everything, you're right.
Her presentation's all really good too. Like the way she comes to the ring, like everything about it's great.
Oh, she's so good. Well, moving right along, we have the best stable, best stable of the not of the year in the company.
This is a hard one for me. I don't know. Is it my turn?
Yes.
I went with Bullet Club Gold.
Great
I liked everything they did outside of the quarters thing, which was just badly timed.
Yeah.
They should have never done that. But the rest of it, they've all done a really good job. I like them bringing out the cardboard cutout. That was hilarious. They made the guns super cool when the guns weren't super cool. I think I liked everything they've done. So Bullet Club Gold.
Great choice. I went House of Black.
All right.
Again, just their run as the trios champs was awesome. Them incorporating Julia into like more into the group, like, before, I don't want to say I don't want to say she was a background character, but she's definitely broke out. Well, you just said she's basically the leader now. Right. She intros the promos and stuff. So it's I just like everything they
Brody
do.
King, Brody King's done incredible this year too. Like do you think I heard this internet rumor, and I think maybe there's some truth to it. When Triple H came back, he reached out to a bunch of former WWE, former NXT people, and some of them asked to leave. The rumor is Malachi and Buddy were two of those people. And again, that's no fault to them. I mean, their spouses are there,
right?
So
right,
that's fine. But do you think that that's part of the reason why Brody King and Julia are more focused on now? Because Tony Khan's like, okay, you can still be on TV, but I don't trust you as much as I trust these other two guys who have been completely loyal, whereas you guys, looked for an out.
Yeah, Especially by the way that they dealt with it. Like, remember, like, I think Brody tagged Julia on Twitter and was like, "Are you hearing these rumors of people leaving our group?" It was like really on the nose, and she was like, "I have not heard." And then
yes.
So yeah, I think that, you know, maybe somebody did get in a little bit of trouble, and
I'm not saying that he's like punishing them or anything.
Right.
Like,
it's like a trust issue.
Yeah, just I'm going to trust the two guys who, if there's 4 people in this group, I'm going to trust the 2 who've never wanted to walk out on me versus the 2 who did. Right. Not that it's like an open. I don't even think he necessarily thinks of that firsthand. But if like you want to go out with your buddies on Saturday and there's one person who flakes out every week and says they can't come, and there's one person who's always down to go, like, you're going to pick the guy who's more willing to hang out with you. So it's kind of the same thing.
100% agree. Now, as honorable mention, I have to pick Christian and his group just because they're awesome.
Yeah, the Patriarchy, I think they are.
Patriarch,
I love them. I think Killswitch is a cool name, actually. I kind of like it.
It is. The only thing that, like, it's like Luchasaurus is just hilarious. Like,
there's the news that came out that this week Jack Perry trademarked Jungle Boy and Jurassic Express and A Boy and His Dinosaur, which he didn't have trademarked before. So the thinking is that they eventually planning to get them back together.
I mean, let's go if they do. They were fun.
The rumor, like, it was just internet rumors, but the rumor is one day will he come back and like save Luchasaurus from Christian, which would be kind of cool. I would like that.
I mean, there you go. Talk about a full circle moment. Like, yeah, I could totally see that happening.
And then he throws him through real glass.
And then and then Christian gets in an altercation backstage and fights Adam Copeland. Their 40-year friendship goes out the window.
There you go. He insisted for some reason on using real glass.
Yeah. And Christian was like, "That's it. I've had enough." And just punches Adam Copeland in the face for no reason. He just walks over and punches him.
Yes. Yeah, I had them as my honorable mention. I had the Kingdom and Roderick Strong, even though they're not really a group, but I had them too because they're just hilarious. I love them.
They're so good. They do a like a backstage thing on Control Center or one of the YouTube shows, and it's so funny that they're walking and Taven goes, "Roddy, you're so brave," and he goes, I am so brave," and it just makes no sense. Like, he's just like, he doesn't say thank you. He goes, "Yes, I am. I'm so brave."
I love them. They're hilarious.
It's so good, and how none of them laugh. Like,
yeah.
I laugh every time. Yeah. Renee laughs every time too, and I love it.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, moving right along, we are up to the best AEW show of the year.
We do tag team, or is that coming up?
Oh no, I skipped tag. I'm sorry.
Tag team. Let's do tag team. First.
Yeah, best tag team.
You can go first.
Mine is Ricky Starks and Big Bill.
Yeah, they're a good team. I have no complaints.
Yeah, I know it's like on the newer side, but I was gonna say Darby and Sting, but like they never really officially are a tag. Like if they would have been official, just because it's his last year, I got to give him something. Yeah. But on that note, spoiler alert, I gave him nothing. So so I went with Ricky and Big Bill.
This was a hard one too, because like it's weird. AEW's always been known for their tag team stuff since they formed. Yeah. But like this year was an off year for tag teams, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because of the trios titles and fewer people are now actually in tag teams. A lot of people are in trios.
That's true.
It was a hard one, but I picked FTR just because they had a lot of great matches. So you can't really go wrong with FTR.
Yeah.
And honorable mentions were the Guns, because the Guns have been really fun. I enjoy them.
That was my honorable mention too, because I went from being so mad and they saying that they didn't deserve the tag titles to they won me over as the champions, and then I was mad when they lost.
Right.
So like they came full circle this
year.
And
it's like little things, like them adding that entrance with the spotlight where the camera goes around them. That immediately made them cooler. And like they're fun. I like them.
The one thing I need answered in 2024, why do they dress like Shawn Michaels? It bothers me. Like it legitimately
they dress exactly like Shawn Michaels too.
Yes.
Like they didn't, like they were watching old 90s wrestling and got confused between Billy Gunn and Shawn Michaels and were like, we're gonna dress like our dad, and someone has to be like, that's not your dad. Your dad's over, he's the other guy in DX. It's this guy.
Yeah, and it's just,
I thought the guy, I've been confused all these years.
Yeah, it just, I want to know why. Like it's 100% ripped off Shawn Michaels gear
all the time too, not just once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously they grew up with him, but like he must have left an impression on those boys. Now moving on.
Yes.
To the best AEW show of the year. And it is your turn. So
I'm going to go back to near the beginning of the year and say Revolution 2023, because that had that Danielson MJF match that I loved. I thought everything about it was good. It was all the pay-per-views were good. Like every one this year was good. It was a little different because there was no like one that stood out, because maybe just there was more of them. But for me, this one stood out because it had that match. It had the Hangman Moxley Texas Death match, which I thought was a little overdone, but still good. House of Black versus the Elite was on there. Jamie Hayter had a match with Saraya. All in all, just a good show. I really liked it.
Nice. Again, I can't argue with that. Mine, I went with I was trying to be a funny guy. Dynamite in Pittsburgh, when me and Biddy got to go. Nice. when we got to see that guy get beat up. That was that was the highlight of my year. No, that show, we had a lot of fun, and it was fun.
Like, that's when Jamie Hayter got hurt, wasn't it, on that one?
I believe so. So yeah, we might have saw. I don't think it was her last appearance, but we might have saw her last in-ring action of the year.
I remember being like, I remember you guys saying, "Oh no, she was really hurt," and I'm thinking, "Oh, maybe just for TV." But you're like, "No, I saw it. It looked like it was a real injury." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and just hanging out, and like we had the business cards printed up, met a bunch of cool people, talked to a bunch of people, so it was fun all around. And just the AEW crowd live.
It's always fun going to AEW shows. Like they're always fun.
And everybody's always so nice. Like, well, me and Biddy met at that one, but the one before, like you, I always just would go by myself. And everyone I would sit by, like people talk to you. It's not like, I don't want to say like going, like WWE would probably be the same, but every time I went to a WWE show, I was with my buddies, and not all my buddies like AEW, so I'd roll by myself. But yeah, that was my show of the year. It was just all around fun, and we got to see, let's see, I think we saw Gringo Loco's debut and Vikingos debut.
Oh yeah, that was that. Yeah, cool. That was fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
But Forbidden Door for me was honorable mention.
I was there, right? Just so you know.
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Jeez.
But yeah, it's always fun to go to an AEW show. Like they're always good stuff.
Yeah.
If you can manage to get through Ticketmaster to get tickets to them, you should go.
Yeah, definitely.
My honorable mention was Grand Slam, just because I thought that closed a lot of that. That was just outside of the stuff with, I think Jericho. That's when Jericho beat Sammy, right? That's the thing that annoyed me.
Yeah.
Outside of that, that was a good, like, it was what a big show should be. It had the big moment with Eddie. It had just, it felt like a big show. So yeah, that was my honorable mention.
And Grand Slam's always fun. I like the little special shows throughout the year.
It's a bit of a like Winter is Coming was this week, and it didn't feel as special as it usually does. And I think it's because they have so many pay-per-views now that like
that's true.
The special shows don't feel as special anymore. I don't know.
That's true. That's a good point. Because like we would always joke around like that. Oh man, something must be going to happen because we have a themed Dynamite coming up.
Right.
So yeah, good point.
What I do like about Dynamite and Collision in its own respect is it's what WWF used to do in like the 90s. When they go to a different place, the show is different. Like when they had Collision or Dynamite in Montreal, like they made a point to have, people from Montreal or people from Canada at least on those shows. Like Ethan Page got to be there, Kenny Omega, they had Christian Copeland there. When they go to Pittsburgh, they're going to do something with, they're going to do something with Britt Baker or someone else. They're
for sure.
They make the individual places they go to feel different. Like an episode of Dynamite in Toronto is going to be different from an episode of Dynamite in Texas. And I like that. I know WWE, and I understand why they do it, but they try to have all their shows feel like they could be anywhere.
Yeah.
So I like them having the coolest wrestling storyline still to this day was when Bret Hart was a heel in the US and a face in Canada. That was the greatest thing that any company's ever done. So I like that AEW kind of has, different feels to all their shows. It's cool.
It is. It is very cool. So speaking of that, what was your favorite thing that AEW has done this year in general?
It's happening right now. The Continental Classic. I love it.
It's so good.
I think on this podcast I made fun of it when they announced it, being like, another tournament. Nah, who cares? But like, it's been great. The wrestling's been great. The storylines coming out of it have been great. Like, I'm excited. I look at the standings and I want to know who's likely to win or who's not likely to win. Like, I pay attention.
Yeah.
WWE people had this on the internet, had this idea that like it's too complicated, but like it's literally just adding.
Adding by three.
Adding single digit numbers to each other. So like it's not every single sport you've ever watched has standings. Yeah. So like this is not difficult. If you can watch football or hockey and figure out who's winning based on how many wins they have, you can do it for here too.
Yeah.
But it's been great. I love it. I hope they do a women's one at some point next year too, because that would be really cool.
That would be fun.
And I love that like the matches mean something. Like the problem with tournament matches, tournaments a lot of the time, even like the Owen Hart tournament, which I like, individual matches don't always mean that much, but in this one they do, and I love it.
Yeah,
I think and they're building storylines around it. Like Jay Lethal's lost all his matches. How's that going to go for him? Seems like he's going to get in a fight with Jarrett or his guys because he's upset. How is if Jay White doesn't win, how he's going to take it? How if Danielson doesn't win, how is he going to take it? Like it's all been good. I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
It was great idea. Great idea for the Triple Crown, for United States Triple Crown, and like you said, just the physicality and the matches have been like off the charts, so good.
Yeah.
I can't deny that that's the best wrestling thing that they did, but I went a little different route here. I went with all the charity work that AEW does. And the reason I say this is because they do so much and claim none of it. Like, they don't go out and say, we did this and we did that, or we're working with this or we're working with that. They just do it and it exists. And I don't know if that comes from Tony Khan being like involved in the NFL and how NFL players, like, a lot of athletes in general have charities and do charity work. So I don't know if he gets it from that aspect of it, but like everything that they do, like just a couple weeks back before Thanksgiving here in the States, like they were out passing out turkeys and that was barely on the internet. Like I saw it on like Orange Cassidy's reel on Instagram or something. Like just the small things that they've been doing all year with their charity works off the hook. It's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff for sure.
Yeah. And my Continental Classic was my runner up.
Yeah. My runner up is just the fact that they've leaned into comedy and being funny across the board. Like they have the MJF Adam Cole stuff, they have Tony Storm, they have Roderick Strong, they have Christian's funny. Like they've leaned more. Orange Cassidy always was.
Yeah.
They've leaned in on that a little bit and been okay with like it doesn't have to all be super serious. And I think it's great. I love it.
And that's exactly why I love Taz and Excalibur.
Yeah.
The chemistry that they have and the way that they bust on each other, it's like, I mean, you could tell that they're friends.
Right. Yeah. They're so good. They're really funny.
So good. Yeah. I'm mad that you get to hear the good stuff when I'm in picture in picture.
The commercial break stuff is great.
Because that's what it used to be on Dark and Elevation. Like, 2 years ago, whenever Excalibur would read the ticket information around this time for Christmas, like, I don't know why they had him say it, but it started out like, you could stuff them in your stocking, and that's like Taz would say it like real radio-y. And by the end, by the time they got to Christmas, like the shows right before Christmas, he was going, stuff in your sock. Like that's what it turned. It turned into stuff in your sock, and I laughed.
Taz is the guy who, like, if you watched wrestling in the '90s when he was in ECW, you would never think that he's funny.
Yeah, no. You'd think that he would just punch you in the face.
Right, but he's actually hilarious.
Yes.
Like, it's great. And this, like, the things that we picked, like the Continental Classic versus the comedy aspect, they're so different from one another. Like, the Continental Classic is very serious and very hard-hitting and very tough. And the, stuff like Tony Storm and Taz and Roderick Strong, they're just funny. And it fits with, like, what we've talked about before, where AEW is not just one thing. You can get, a comedy thing. You can get a technical match. You can get a brawl. You can get all in the same show. And they've done a really good job with it this year, like having a good diversity of things.
You're right. And like, I think I want to say it was Foley. I could be wrong, but I remember Foley talking about like comedy wrestling and how, like, not comedy wrestling, comedy in wrestling, excuse me, has like literally been there since the beginning of time.
Right.
And you almost always have to have it. Like, even if you go to, ECW, there'd be like a barbed wire, like Stairway to Hell match. And then like the next match would be like the Blue World Order thumb wrestling, the full-blooded Italians. Like,
yeah. Yeah, all the big periods of wrestling, I've had it. Like Foley himself, like he flew off the Hell in the Cell and got hit in the head with a chair 10 times, and
then he came out, dude,
and then he pulled out a sock and was hanging out with a clown. Right? He did it all. So yeah, it's all great stuff.
So,
but speaking of not great stuff, we have our last category, right?
Last category, which is, what is the worst thing AEW has done?
You can go first. I have a few.
Mine's simple. Hired Flair. I don't care.
I didn't even think of that one, but yeah, I agree. You're right.
I don't care that it came out that he's basically paying them to be there, blah, 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 blah. If you were to say that, he was going to be at ringside for Sting's last match, I'd have had no problem with that. You signing him to a contract, I can't help it that the guy was bad with his money his whole life and he needs money now. Sorry. You shouldn't have hired him. Like, there's
especially because like they at least they didn't give him a mic on a live show, but they gave him a mic on Rampage.
Right.
And immediately had to edit what he had to say because he's just offensive. Like, it would have been fine to have him be there for Sting's last match, but like now it's even kind of like they can't. Why does he have to be there for Sting every single time? Like, every time Sting comes out, does Ric Flair have to be there? No, he doesn't. Like this, I forgot about this, but you're right. That's it. That's the thing. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, people are like, again, I don't know why people go to bat for scumbags on the internet. Like, first off, Ric Flair doesn't care about you. Second off, I don't care that he was bad with his money and he's broke at however old he is now, because that's his fault. He's a horrible person.
And it's not even like one of my bad things is the whole CM Punk situation. And in that you can go, Punk's probably an awful person to hang out with backstage, but he added value to like the TV show, right? Like, he was entertaining. Like, you could say, he's a good wrestler, he's an entertaining character, but what is Ric Flair adding other than like maybe he'll sell some extra tickets when they go to like the Carolinas? Other than that, like, what? Like, it would have been fine for him to be there for Sting's thing. But like, he doesn't have to be on TV on a regular basis. There's no need for this whatsoever.
Right. And if they wanted to partner with his energy drink and have like I would have had no problem with that.
Right. Or like a merchandise deal. Like, we'll sell shirts. That's fine. Like, I wouldn't buy one, but you can sell them. I don't care. But
it's what I was just going to say. I mean, he is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I mean, people will buy those things. but having him on the payroll,
No, yeah, I agree. That's the thing. I forgot about it, but you're right. That's the thing.
That's how bad it is that you just blocked it out.
And especially because AEW, rightly or wrongly, turning out more and more likely that it's wrongly, they had a reputation of being the not WWE, right? Like, Vince McMahon, everyone knows, is an awful person, and he doesn't care about morals. He just cares about business. But like AEW was the better one, right? Like they're like, but now then they hired Ric Flair, so now you're like, really? Like even WWE was like, we're not going to work with Ric Flair,
right?
And bad decision, just bad overall.
But then again, we don't know. I mean, Flair his name has power at TNT and TBS, so maybe it was an executive that told Tony.
Get that, but I still don't like it.
Oh no, I don't like it either. But I'm saying maybe Tony Khan didn't have a choice. Maybe Flair even overstepped him and went to.
Yeah, it's true. Especially if his energy drink is paying them enough that they don't really have to pay him.
Right.
I could see that being like a network.
Like
this is
He's just allowed to come hang out. Like.
At least hopefully they don't give him a mic anytime soon again, because even the time they gave him a mic when he was backstage, like he said something like when they were talking about the match they had at Clash of the Champions, he said something like, we went out there, we didn't rehearse it. And I'm like, don't say that on TV. You're not supposed to rehearse any of this. It's like we're pretending like you're wrestling. That's the point of the show. This isn't like a documentary behind the scenes thing of AEW. Like, did he forget that? Like, don't give him a mic. He can't, even when he's not being offensive, he's not cutting any promos. It's 2023, right?
Yeah.
So,
he's like, he's not Ric Flair 1990 anymore.
Right. So, then you could say, like I said with the Punk thing, you could say, oh, if he was Ric Flair 1990, he's a problem. But look how good he is on TV. So it's
like you said, he added.
You hedge your bets, right? You risk it. But like, he's not adding anything to the show in any capacity. So you're right.
He wears that stupid suit, and it's like I hate to say it, he's like a shell of the human being that he once was.
If they just wanted to give him money, and but don't put him on TV. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't want them to give him money, but if they really, like, for some reason felt like they should, that's fine.
Like if they really felt bad that he blew it all, I mean.
Right. Yeah, you're right. All the things I wrote down aren't as bad as that thing.
That's incredible. Was that the last category?
Yeah, mine. I mean, we've talked about some of mine already. Women's division booking. We've already talked about women's division booking. That's bad. It needs to fit better. The Punk situation was just.
That was just dumb.
I have a feeling that at some point, like after the first year, he seemed like he enjoyed himself, because we've talked about this a million times. After his first year, he posted a thing like, it's been the greatest year of my professional career. Like, he was enjoying himself. Something happened at some point. I don't want to discuss it anymore. Who did what, or who offended who, whatever. But the fact that they couldn't salvage it in some capacity is stupid. Like the fact that all, no matter who did what, who offended who, the fact that there was at some point in the locker room, 5 or 6 grown adults, and they couldn't figure this out is stupid. Like that was dumb. All of it was dumb. They should have. Tony Khan never should have let him go on that rant in the press conference. When the Young Bucks never should have went into his locker room after that rant. Like, none of it. Right. All of it was. They never should have given him that much power that they gave him to, like, run his own thing. If, like, he hates everyone, like, none of this should have ever happened. So that was all. It was all dumb, and the fact that they couldn't fix it was stupid.
I mean. They're like, I mean, we talked about it a million times. They're not going to get into it again, but like, the writing is on the wall with the amount of money that they could have made.
Yes.
Like,
for sure.
I mean, we joked around about it. Like, oh yeah, wait till next year at All In, when it's the 3-way between the Elite and, Punk and FTR, blah, blah, blah. Like, everyone was just waiting for them to make up, and then he gets fired.
We talked about it a lot, but that's why we thought it was a work, because how could this not be a work?
Right.
It's so stupid that, like,
they still bit a guy.
Right. Apparently he did.
Yeah. The thing that we thought was the fakest thing was apparently the most real.
It was so stupid. And like, I know we're already running long and we've probably talked about this a lot, but like now there's this rumor, and I think it's a rumor. I think it's spread by CM Punk and his people. I don't think it's real. That like Warner Brothers likes him, and now they want to have talks to bring Raw to Warner Brothers because they think he's going to draw attention to their show. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. I have no idea. I don't think it's true. I think he's spinning that story.
Same here.
But even that, like if the network was like, we really like this guy, that's fine. Like have him on TV. I really like him as a wrestler. I really like when he's on TV. But there has to be some line in between, like, oh yeah, this guy doesn't get along well with people backstage, but we want him on TV. They should have worked it out instead of being like, this guy doesn't get along with people backstage, but we want him on TV. So let's just let him do whatever he wants, and we'll try to keep the other guys away from him, and hopefully that works out. Like, no, of course that wasn't going to work out. It's a terrible idea.
That's like the worst way to handle it. It's like, hey, go ahead.
How could you not go, you know what we have to do is get them to talk to each other,
right,
and fix this. Or if it's to the point where they just can't be in the same room, then it's not going to work. Don't try. Right? Like the fact that they could, they're all adults. Like the fact that they couldn't, I think that after the first year, he had one foot out the door and wanted to leave anyway. And what I've heard from, it's dirt sheet stuff, so who knows if it's true, is that he wasn't upset when he got fired. He wasn't looking to get fired, but he wasn't upset. And I feel like that's probably true, that he was just I don't really care anymore, so I'm going to do whatever I want. And if I get fired, whatever. Like, like an employee, when you hate your job, you're like, I'm going to do a bad job. And if they fire me, I don't really care. Like, that's where it got, but it never should have got there. That's insane that it did.
And I have a feeling that history is going to repeat itself yet again.
The only reason I feel like it won't is because the stuff that threw him off the handle was like people going off script or people going into business for themselves, quote unquote. And WWE doesn't let you do that. They hand you exactly what you're supposed to say. And
he's going to fight with somebody in WWE. Like someone's going to tick him off and he's going to blow up again.
I think that they're pushing like a real story, like a storyline work shoot thing with him and Seth Rollins, where they're just like trying to make it seem real, but it's not real, but it's all scripted.
Right.
But at some point, someone is going to annoy him.
Right.
And hopefully he's smart enough to be like, no, I can't do that again, because then I'm out of wrestling forever. But maybe he's not. So,
hey, I just brought it up to you yesterday. Like we, as fans, forgot he got in a fight with Kenta. Like, remember, like a New Japan guy. Wasn't it at a New Japan show?
I don't know the details of it, but I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he disrespected a whole company that he didn't even work for. And then he ruined the opportunity for AEW. I mean, good God, they were going to wrestle each other for the finisher. I mean, Jesus, like that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
And like, that's just forgot about. Like he fought that guy too.
I think it might work in WWE because they're very strict and very locked down, and they'll if there's any hint of, like, they are more professional than AEW. They are. Whereas I think if there's any hint of like him and anyone else not getting along, I think they will stop that as soon as they possibly can. Like if they realize him and Seth Rollins hate each other, they will stop that immediately, as opposed to
I see what you're saying.
Just letting them try to work it out.
Okay, they'll take the hit on the fans being mad and the ratings going down for a minute to avoid so and so getting punched in the face or so and so being unhappy.
Because because rightly or wrongly, Punk meant more to AEW than Punk means to WWE, right? If Punk and Seth Rollins have a disagreement and they're like, well, we're just taking you off TV. No, they'll just take him off TV. They'll be like, we don't want you here, and they'll just move him away.
Yeah,
because they don't need him as much.
Like they literally just sold the company for $9 billion without him in it. So that's a good point. Like, yeah,
I could see if there's any hint of there being any problems, just being like, okay, you're not working with him ever again, and they just move you.
Like, go home, Phil. We'll see you next week, and see you next week, and calm down, and we'll make sure you guys are,
My other one, I have two short ones.
Good. Yeah.
It was weird inconsistency in stories. We've talked about it before. Like Mox and Eddie never had their blow off feud. Hopefully they do. That's a little nitpicky, but it's there. The Owen Hart tournament doesn't seem like it really meant much. Like Ricky won it, but like he could have done everything he'd done without winning it. Willow won it, and they haven't really mentioned it much. Like that kind of bothered me. I'm just ripping through them because we're running low on time.
Yeah.
And I need time for my last one. Just the continued existence of Chris Jericho on TV. Like
sick.
Ooh, like he does. Like again, he could be useful in certain capacities, but whatever he's doing now is not the way he should be doing things.
Well, we talked about it live when we were watching last night. Like, I mean, this is just ratings talk, but like that was this 9 o'clock segment. That's the opening of your second hour. That was bad.
Yeah.
Like,
and you knew he was going to go for like the really childish, dumb insult.
Oh yeah.
But like,
of course,
they're not even funny. Like if they were at least funny, but they're not. Like The Rock was childish with his jokes, but they were funny.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I understand the relevance of it, like because Enzo Amore was whatever big cast at the time.
Yeah.
That was they were tag team partners. But again, like I had to think of their other guy's name. Like it's so irrelevant. Like, excuse me.
Enzo wasn't. Why are you like burying Ricky Starks for a guy who doesn't work for your company? If it was someone who worked for your company, if Enzo was like,
in AEW,
who's the tag team who broke up? It's like Adam Copeland and Christian. If someone said like, oh, you were always the worst member of your tag team,
yes.
I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, that's putting over a guy who works for your company.
Yeah.
But yeah, Enzo Amore doesn't work here, nor will he hopefully ever work there. So
yeah, another horrible person.
Yeah, that was all of it. Was just I don't know what he's doing. I don't understand what he's like. Even like I think Ricky Starks kind of went off script there because when he was just like he tried to make that really bad Billy Starks joke.
Yeah.
And even Ricky Starks was like, that didn't work. Like
yeah. And see like that, like okay, like I get it, like you're making fun of like the rookie, blah blah blah, but like Jericho knows better than that. Like again, like you have to have thick skin. You're in the wrestling business. I can't sit here and say, oh, she's only 18 years old, but they are trying to get her over as the main eventer in their sub company's pay-per-view in 2 days, and you're making fun of her. Like that just didn't make sense to me. I'm sorry,
and the knock that people make on AEW is like they don't change your name when you get there. So you have, a bunch of guys named Cage or a bunch of guys named Page or like which is what normal people do because you're going to meet someone with the same name as you in life. It's life. Right. But like, why draw attention to the fact that there's a Billy Starks and a Ricky Starks? Like, you don't need to. They're not involved with one another. Like, they're not. They have nothing to do with each other. Like, all the jokes that he made were like they weren't helping anybody at all. Not even him. Yeah. They weren't even helping him. And like, I don't know. Dumb things like they're called the Golden Jets. Like his team with Kenny Omega's team with Kota Ibushi was the Golden Lovers, but that's because Kota Ibushi was the golden part of it, right? Like when he was with the Elite, they were the Golden Elite.
Right.
Why is this team the Golden Jets when there is no golden? Like it doesn't make any sense. They just want to talk about the Winnipeg Jets. Even Kenny Omega doesn't know the name of the team. He called them the Winnipeg Jets. Like it's dumb. All of it's dumb. It's wasting dumb. Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega could do a million things that are better than this. And why is he doing this? I hate it.
And I texted you last night. They can't just call each other. They can't just call the team Jericho Omega. That's an awesome name.
Yeah, do that. That's perfectly like that's a million times better.
Yeah. And it's like, and it makes sense. Like that's I mean, they were even making fun of it. Like, oh, what if you just combine their two names? Like, well, Jericho Omega works perfectly. And the Golden Jets is just so dumb.
I know Kenny Omega's not the Kenny Omega he was of 5 years ago. He's not going to have banger after banger match with Okada like he did. He's beat up. He's older. That's fine. They put him in a tag team. That's fine. But the tag team with Ibushi is right there. Like, just do that. Just have him be in that tag team and have Jericho do something else. I don't I don't get it. Jericho has to realize, like, especially after that promo, that this is not working.
Yeah, I agree, because it isn't working and it hasn't been.
Like, the split of the JAS was ridiculous. The fact that he's somehow the face after that, when like he did kind of screw over everyone in the team, and they left rightfully, and somehow they're still heels. And the fact that they still call them the former JAS instead of giving them another name is also stupid. Like, all of this is dumb. Yeah,
agreed.
I know this is supposed to be our like best of the year thing, and we just ended it with like ranting negativity, but it's annoying.
Well, our last category was the worst thing they did, so maybe we should have switched those.
Yeah, but I agree with you that Ric Flair was the worst thing they did, because that was just he's also a terrible person. But like, the worst thing they did on TV, I think, was just like the stuff with Jericho. There's no need for any of this. Like, he has value, but it's not here. I don't know where it is, but it's not doing this.
Honestly, I like him on commentary. He is actually semi-funny and relevant. Like, he plays the Bobby Heenan role very well. Just automatically likes all the heels, yells at the good guy commentators. Like, if he would just do that and like coach people, they have a diamond on their hands.
And put him on like a Sting contract where he like wrestles, every 6 months or something, right? He shows up on TV every couple months, like to hype one feud, and then that's it. Like, he doesn't need to do. He's not a full-time wrestler at this point, and he doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And
they're gonna win the tag titles, aren't they?
I
think they are.
I don't know.
I think they are. It's because then Jericho loves his like shocking swerve. He's going to turn on Kenny Omega, and it works better if they're tag team champions. But hopefully that's not true. That's not what happens.
Yeah, it's like, I just want. Oh, see, that sucks, because that means there's going to be a Jericho and Omega feud next. Damn it.
Yeah, I don't want that either.
Yeah, because the tag team has to break up now. Son of a bitch. Oh well. Well, on that note, now that I'm angry.
This is supposed to be our positive. All in all, good year for AEW. I don't mean to sound like it was bad, because so many good things happened. I like that I know that, like, when QT Marshall left recently, the thinking was, they're going to push in-ring stuff more than character stuff, which I don't believe, because they have Tony Storm, they have the Adam Cole, MJF stuff. They're not sacrificing character. I think what they mean by that is they're going to do stuff like the Continental Classic, where like the stories build through the matches, which I think has been great. So I hope they keep doing that.
I agree. And
that's really what set AEW apart, is just the stuff, the variety, the diversity, like the different matches you can have, the different characters you can have. Like, WWE, very successful, and their shows are fine. Like, people like them. I don't personally like their shows, but like, people like their shows. They have millions of people watching them every week, so good for them. But they have a way of making people WWE superstars that they're all kind of the same, and AEW does things differently, and I like the difference. I like the fact that there's difference to it, and I hope they keep doing that.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's been a fun year. It's been a lot of fun, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna do holiday show next week, correct?
Yeah, we don't actually know what that means, but it's something. So
we have we have some surprises for you, and
like, share, subscribe.
All
that stuff. I think you've been doing some work on Threads that people are paying attention to, so you can follow us there. We're on all the social networks, but we don't really use the one that everybody hates these days.
That is correct. And hello and welcome to all the people on Threads that have been following us. It's really caught on recently. Hashtags have really helped us. They added those, and I think you said
because like 2 months into Threads, they're like, "Oh yeah, hashtags. Let's do that."
Like, it made no sense. Should have had day one, but we'll take
Yesterday, they were like, "Oh, you know who might want to use this? The entire continent of Europe. Let's give them access."
The wonders of the internet. Anyways, like, subscribe, share, pass it along, tell your friends about us, and have a nice chill week. Enjoy some Ring of Honor if you watch it tomorrow night. And until next week, later.